Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I am going to be using the Joy Noel wreath, the sleigh bells ring, and then the cover plate that we're using is the Northern Star, which is really kind of like the star of our show here. So we're going to be doing some distress inking in the background. I went back to my traditional blue because, well, I love blue. But also because I wanted it to kind of look like this night sky background, since I was going to be using the Northern Star cover plate so it looks like stars. So it made sense to make it blue, or I suppose you could maybe add in some purple or some teal. That would be kind of fun. It would be super pretty to do like a Aurora Borealis, like the Northern Lights look with that particular cover plate. But I kind of wanted to show you how, because you know that I'm a cheap chicken, you know that I like to stretch my supplies, and so I wanted to show you how you can use an A2 cover plate in a slimline design. Plus I had this idea with the sleigh, like I really loved the sleigh, but the sleigh doesn't offer a lot of opportunity for coloring, which is fine. There's plenty of beautiful images out there that don't offer that, and I still wanted to use it. So there's no Copa coloring on this entire card. Aren't you proud of me? Caitlin's really making me branch out into into different ideas that were maybe a little bit more time saving. I don't have 2 hours to spend on every card I make anymore. So I still have time to spend it on some of them though. I'm not giving up my scenes. I can't do it. I love them too much. So I went lightest to darkest, and I just kind of left this halo around the center, because in design that your eye will be drawn to the lighter area, and that's where my focal point is going to be. So I'm already pushing my my recipient to look directly into the center with just the background. So you can see, and I think it always looks like the distress ink always looks like a little bit questionable on the camera, and I'm not really sure why. It looks much better in real life. Maybe because it's not always under such bright lighting. I'm not really sure, but so I'm just filling that in, and I go over it twice just to have really good saturation. Another thing that I don't think I ever really add, but I always make sure I do, is when I'm adding the layers of color, I'm still putting the lighter color over the darker color, because like you can see from the right to the left that putting the salty ocean over on the over the darker colors, it just gives it a little bit of brightness it didn't have before. If you typically watch my videos, then you know what we're doing now. You know what's coming next. So I'm just flicking on some clean water to kind of break up that background and give the illusion of lighter stars out there in the sky. And then I'm going to add in some perfect pearls because shimmer. Like, period. That's all I have for you. I'm not going to make excuses. I just like the glitters. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then one thing just to note, before you start doing any die cutting, make sure that your piece is completely dry. Otherwise, you're just going to tear your paper. So my setup here is a little bit too small to bring my Platinum 6 over. So I'm just going to show you with the cutting plates, how I will line this up. So here you want to make sure that your card isn't touching any of the edges, because it will cut out. The edges are meant to cut an A2 size. So typically you would put your plate over the entire piece and it would cut out the entire thing. We're going to do partial die cutting so that way the edge here doesn't cut through anything. So when I run that through in my sandwich, I'm not going to put any pressure on that, and you'll see that it cuts out one size. Now, how do we line this back up so that we have a full complete card? It is super easy to do, but you want to do it from the back. So here I just guessed on the placement, just so I could flip it over and see that. Again, I want to make sure, because I'm not going to put any pressure on that cutting edge, that it's far enough over that I'm still going to get a complete design. And here you can see that it cuts through everything, and you wouldn't know that we used an A2 cover plate instead of a Slimline cover plate. I will say that a Slimline cover plate is much easier because you just line it up and then run it through. But if you have an A2 that you really love, this is a way to kind of use them as well. Now, they will not work for patterns you have to line up. It only work for more sporadic patterns, like something like this Northern Star plate that we're using. So now onto the stamping. I do own colored inks. Shocking, I know, because I hardly ever use them, but I do own some. And so I've stamped it in a light brown, and then I'm actually going to stamp it a second time just because I've never used this particular stamp before. So it isn't seasoned at all. Some people do season their stamps before they use them, maybe hit it with a white eraser or ink it up with Versamark. I don't. I just add ink until it looks pretty. Then I'm going to add the detail layer, which is actually the wood grain. So I'm going to line that up. And this is made super easy by my Misty. You can do this without a Misty using the clear acrylic blocks. You're just, you would just mount your stamp, hold it in your hand, and then look at it from directly above so that you could get it exactly where you wanted it. But the Misty is, it's just like my go-to. I don't even really use acrylic blocks anymore unless I'm stamping single stamps. So now with that layer on, I'm going to add in the little handle, and while the base of my card is all blue, I wanted to add some pops of some traditional Christmas colors. So I decided to use this bright red color for my handle, which will tie into the other things that I'm doing. I'm using the die to just go ahead and cut that out. I totally love that Honeybee has disconnected their dies, so you can just pull, you don't have to worry about cutting the in-betweens. You can just pull them out and use them, and then there's no hassle about it. I'm also going to be cutting out some other things. I'm going to cut out 2 wreaths. I'm going to cut out a bow, and I'm going to cut out the J and the Y from the Joy Noel wreath set. It's called that because you can spell Joy or Noel. All those letters for those things are in there. And this wreath is also from that set. There is a wreath stamp included in the Sleigh Bells ring set, but I wanted something that was going to be a little bit bigger. So here I've cut 2 of them just because I'm going to layer them on top of each other for a little bit of dimension. And then I did them in crushed olive and forest moss. I chose 2 greens on complete opposite sides of like a super dark and a super light because I wanted that contrast. And then I pretty much cut everything out of white cardstock. I don't use colored cardstock, but you could totally do that as well. If you wanted to save, the time on the distress inking, and it would make this card even faster. Here, I'm going to use my distress inks to color all of these with reds. I used Festive Berries, Fired Brick, and Aged Mahogany. And for the bow, the center part, I just left Festive Berries. The middle part, I added Fired Brick to. And then the longer part with the tails, which will be the very back of it, I added Fired Brick and Aged Mahogany. The letters I did kind of like a gradient. So yeah, this is a super fast card for me, which is good. We've been having a lot going on, as I'm sure you can tell when you have a new little one. We've decorated the house for Christmas. I shouldn't say we. Eric mostly did. So he put up all of our things one day with Caitlin just kind of strapped to his chest. And then we put up the Christmas tree together. Put the Nathan and I and Eric, we all put up the tree. And then Nathan and I did the garland. We have a pre-lit tree. And then they did the ornaments. I didn't do the ornaments. I made dinner while they did the ornaments. For the bow, I'm just going to adhere just the center so that I can kind of fluff it up and give it a little bit more dimension. So yeah, we got all our Christmas decorations up. And as I do this voiceover and look outside, it's like 50 degrees out in Ohio. Like, I have no idea what's happening, but it's crazy. It's crazy wild. It's supposed to be 63 tomorrow, and that's December 12th. Crazy wild. Anyway, so do you put up 1 or 2 trees? I I think that it's very interesting to see people's traditions, and so we in my house growing up, we only ever put up one tree, and it was like the tree where all of the ornaments that we made went on there. The tree where there was it was like a hodgepodge of colored lights and white lights, and my mother loves tinsel. Oh my gosh, if you love tinsel, I'm sorry. It's so gaudy. Like, she just put gobs and gobs of it on. Like, before frosted trees were a thing, our tree was frosted, but with tinsel. I don't even put it on my tree. I don't even put it on my tree. But I do garland, and we do like a gold beaded garland. But when I was growing up at home, we did the big fuzzy garland. And then tinsel on top of that. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Let me paint you a picture. Um, but so that was the tree that we put up. We never put up two. But I know lots of people do. And my sister now does. My sister has become a two tree person, and one of them, I believe, has a theme. Like, she's super into it. And that's totally cool. My previous mother-in-law used to do two, and she would do one in their family room that was like all the kids' ornaments and the hodgepodge, and then she would do one in her front window that was a theme. So she had two different trees as well. This year we have two different trees. When I was living in Kelly's Critter Cottage, if you can remember back that far, with all the bugs. Oh my gosh, I was so grateful for that house when I got it. Like, Lord Jesus gave me that house when I needed it. But I was so glad not to live there anymore because there was just so many bugs. But anyway, all I could afford was like this 4-foot Christmas tree from Target that my sister picked up for me in a Black Friday sale for $50. And so that was the tree that we put up. So we still have that tree. And last year my parents used it because Graham was in the front room, which was typically where we put the tree. So my parents used the smaller one in the connected dining room, and that is, where we did Christmas. So this year they don't need the tree because, Graham's celebrating Jesus's birthday in heaven this year. Which, if you think about it, say a little prayer for my mama. It's, she's having a hard time. It's the first holiday season. And, for those of you who have lost loved ones, I know that you can relate to that. And she can use all the prayers, but anyway, so Nathan wanted to put up that tree in his game room, so he did that and put up some lighted garland, and put up his little Christmas village in his game room. And so he did an excellent job. It's all like, it looks like a theme tree, even though it's not, because that's all we had left over was like the silver, white, and red ornament. So those were what's on his tree. And then Eric from somewhere, I don't even know where, scrounged up a star thing to put on top of it. I didn't even know we had another one. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so back to the card. So I did the little white gel pen dots for like the little berries, and then I put some Stardust stickles on them. And I thought that I was going to be good with that, add some, shimmer to the red parts to really kind of make those pop. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. But I wasn't done. That was a lie. Because when I came in here the next day to photograph it and I looked at it, I was like, nope. No, it needs something else. And so I got out my vintage Christmas rhinestones, and it has two different colors of red. It has like a dark, like a garnet color, and then it has more of like a ruby red. And so I used a combination of those to put berries on my wreath, and honestly liked it much better. I think just because it was like the red J, the red bow, and the red Y, I felt like it needed, like there was like this missing section. And I did choose to leave my white border on my die cut, even though traditionally I don't. I just thought it made it kind of pop off the background a little bit more, and so I chose to leave it on there. You just gotta go with what you think looks good for each individual card. There isn't really like a tried and true, this is what I always do. I do have several things that this is what I often do, but not always. Sometimes you got to mix it up. So yeah, I would like you to tell me about your Christmas trees. Do you do a theme? Do you put up more than one tree? Do you maybe not put up, some people don't put up a tree at all. Eric, when he lived in his apartment and he was single, he put up a tree that was like the fiber optic ones that was just, he loves Christmas. It's his favorite holiday. It's also my favorite holiday, which is why we decorate all the things for the Christmas. But so he would put up like a fiber optic tree that was just a little bit smaller, and then the gifts he would have underneath it would be the ones he had wrapped for his family members. But it clearly was not like a full Christmas tree. At the Critter Cottage, I probably wouldn't have had one either if I wouldn't have had Peanut. I bought the tree specifically because I had a younger child. So yeah, this is it. This is the whole card. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you got a little inspired by something or got some ideas, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.